Hey friends, welcome. My name is Lauren. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 girls. We are going into our 5th year homeschooling, and today I'm going to share some reasons why homeschooling might work for you and some reasons why homeschooling might not work for you. We're going to get right into it. Number 1, flexibility. This is huge when it comes to homeschooling. You have so much flexibility. If you are a family that needs to move around a lot due to the military, or you just love to travel and you want to travel in the off-peak seasons, you want to take really cool field trips when you don't have a bunch of other people there and it's not crowded, or maybe you work and your shifts are different. You don't work a normal 8 to 5 job, or you do work an 8 to 5 job and you want to have, do schooling around that. You can make your schedule according to whatever works best for your family. When there's snow days or sick days or beach days or whatever the case may be, you can work around that. There is so much flexibility, not only with schedule, but with curriculum, with how you homeschool, where you homeschool, you name it, it can be done with homeschooling. Number 2, academics. So this can go both ways. You can do academics as strict or as loose as you want. If you have a child and you feel like the academics at whatever school they might be going to are not rigorous enough, you can really challenge your child when they're at home and homeschooling to push their limits and see what their full potential is that they may not be getting even in honors classes at a public school. On the flip side of that, you may have a child who's really not great with the whole bookwork and tests and all of that, and they kind of shut down and melt down when it comes to testing and informal brick and mortar, what you normally think of when you think of school. And they don't excel in that. My husband, for example, he is amazing when it comes to anything hands-on. If it's hands-on and he doesn't know how to do it, I guarantee in about 15 minutes, he'll figure it out. He can do plumbing, electrical work, any house repair that even if he's never done it before, he can figure it out. He is so great with that. However, when it comes to tests and formal study and quizzes and reports and all of that, he does better and excels and thrives in hands-on situations. So if you have a son or daughter like that, it doesn't have to be just boys, who doesn't really do well with testing and they do better with more hands-on things, and you want them to have more time at home to hone in on certain skills and just certain life skills, then you can have the freedom to do that as well. You might have someone who's neither and they just are just middle of the road, and you just want to be kind of more have a hands-on and curate their curriculum and what they study. You have someone who's maybe into, a certain subject and really wants to focus a lot on that. You can have that flexibility to cater their academics specifically to your child. And when your child is being able to learn and grow in the areas that they actually want to, in turn, they are more excited to learn and to grow and to foster that love of education and learning. Also, the great thing about catering their academics to them is, think about it, when children are in school, they have to sit down and be still. Yes, of course, they have recess and can go to the bathroom, but the general expectation and requirement is that they sit still for a certain amount of hours throughout the day. However, there's children who just that doesn't fit them, and then they kind of get that label of bad or not well behaved or rowdy or disrupting and all of that. And maybe that's not the case. They just physically need to move around a little bit more. At home with homeschooling, you can do a lesson and say, okay, go play for 30 minutes. All right, now let's come back. Let's do another lesson. Or you can make activity part of their lesson. They can be learning while they're moving. And there's a lot of ways that you can incorporate that. One more thing with this academic point is as far as, when you think of, let's say you have a 4th grader. In 4th grade, your child, when they're going to school, everything across the board is 4th grade. Math, language arts, history, science, all of it. Maybe your child does really, really well in language arts and they don't need to be in 4th grade. They excel. They can go and do 5th or 6th grade learning. However, math, they kind of struggle in and they need to be right on grade level, or they may need to be a little bit below grade level. Maybe they do better in 2nd or 3rd grade work, and so that, you're building that foundation. One of the great things about homeschooling is that you don't have to just get everything on that grade level. example. You can go as far behind or ahead as you need to suit your child's needs best. Bottom line, when it comes to academics with homeschooling, you can customize your kids' education, and I think that is amazing. Number 3, when it comes to homeschooling, you can have the ability to shelter your kids. And you may think, wait a second, I don't want to have sheltered weird kids. How is this a pro? Sheltered doesn't necessarily mean weird, and to be honest, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a little bit weird anyway. We all have our own weirdnesses and quirks about us, and I think that that's really awesome, and we should embrace that. But that's another topic. As far as being sheltered, I also think that that's not a con at all. A little bit of backstory. My husband grew up in a non-Christian home, went to public school. I grew up in a Christian home and went to Christian school my whole life. So I definitely was a lot more, sheltered and not exposed to as much as he was. He would have switched with me and places with me any day. And I used to think, like, especially in my earlier 20s when I went to college, like, oh my gosh, like I went to a Christian school. I kind of feel out of place. I don't know. But as I became an adult, I realized and became so much more grateful and thankful that I was not exposed to all the things that I could have been exposed to. Now, with that said, I do not want to make it seem as though if you homeschool your child, they will never be exposed to anything that we ideally would not want them to see or encounter. That's not going to be realistic. Our kids are going to be around other kids, whether they go to public school or Christian school or even homeschooled kids. Yes, even homeschooled kids can still expose our children to things that we don't really approve of or would be excited for them to see. It happens. That's the nature of having children. However, when you homeschool, you do have a little bit more you have a lot more say so in who they are seeing and being regularly coming into contact with. And you are able to kind of, no, you can't prevent 100% of the interactions, and you can't be, little helicopter mom 24/7. I don't think that that's healthy, but I think that there is a certain amount of things going on in this world that our kids just don't need to see and don't need to be part of on a day-to-day basis. Speaking of which, that brings me to my next point with specifically going on, and I know that this has been happening for years, but I think it's a lot more prevalent now that we have like social media and smartphones and things like that, is the bullying and kind of social pressure that kids are getting nowadays. And what I'm not saying anything new or anything that you don't already know about, but again, just being able to minimize that. Now, I'm not saying that every single child who goes to a public school or a Christian school or any type of school is a bully, or every child who will be going will get bullied and will be exposed to that. Of course not. There's many people who have great, very positive experiences when it comes to outside school. However, there is no denying that those instances happen a lot more than we realize, and it is just really terrible. Like the amount of bullying and words that are spoken, in not only physical, but actual words, telling people, threatening them, and just all of the terribleness is real. It has a lasting impact, not only throughout childhood, but into adulthood. People who are bullied carry that with them throughout their adult life. There's definitely ways to minimize that and to avoid it as much as possible. And again, it's not to say that your child will never come across someone who is mean to them or speaks unkind words or has rude things to say. Of course not. But it's, again, minimizing that interaction that they're having on a day-to-day basis. This brings me to my next point, which is, what will they be seeing on a day-to-day basis? And that is you in your home. And that is a great thing. Hopefully it is. Hopefully you live in a home environment that is healthy and thriving. And if you are maybe not there yet, that you are working towards becoming a healthy environment for your child to be in. We have the opportunity to, on a daily basis, and I'm not saying turn every single thing into a godly moral of the story type thing, but we do on a daily basis have the opportunity to show our children, hey, look at how, God's example, God's love, how he's working, how he, we prayed for this and this was provided for us, and how, hey, I know you're feeling like this. What does God have to say about it? And you can point your child back to God. Now, not saying that they can't have that if they do go to a Christian school, because they're surrounded by Christian teachers and they will be more encouraged to learn about God and all of that. in a Christian school, obviously a public school setting, that's not going to be the case. But you get the joy and the blessing of being there on a day-to-day basis, and you can show them, living it out, godly examples of how to react in certain situations. Not saying that you can't do that if your kids go to school, obviously you're seeing them after school and on the weekends and at night and things like that. But when you get into homeschooling, your patience will be tested, and God will hopefully work through you and will refine you as well to have more patience, more grace, more tolerance, and just help strengthen that relationship. Which brings me to my next point, a strengthened relationship. Now, whether you are a Christian or a non-Christian, I understand not everybody who watches this video is going to consider themselves a Christian, but there's no denying the fact that homeschooling your children and having that special bond, there is nothing like teaching them that concept and they just finally get it and it just clicks and you can all celebrate and you get to be there to see that happen. Weeks and weeks of maybe possible frustration and you're like, oh my goodness, you're never gonna get this, and then they get it and it just is the best feeling ever. And that is really truly a bond and a great memory that you will both carry with you for the rest of your life. That having them been in a Christian school or a public school, you aren't going to see that. You'll hear about it from them, or maybe you'll see it written on a report, but you don't get that experience. And I think that is irreplaceable in my opinion. So strengthening the relationship and great memories is just another point and another reason that you might want to consider homeschooling. Last, and I think should not be discounted, is children who are doing competitive sports or dance or theater, something like that, where they are, doing it year round and having to travel, and not saying that if they go to a public school that they aren't able to do that. I think it just is a lot though, because they're having to do not only school all day long, but then they have to come home and do homework. When they are homeschooling, they have that wiggle room, they have that flexibility, and you can work around their schedule. And I think that is a really, really great benefit. Now let's go to some reasons that you might not want to homeschool. So first and foremost, and this is going to encompass, I think, probably dozens of reasons, but I'm just going to put it in one umbrella, and that is fear. Do not homeschool out of fear. In fact, don't do anything out of fear. We live in a society today that is so fearful and so afraid. And I get it. The past 3 years have been crazy, unexpected. We've never lived through anything like this. However, I see so much fear all the time, and it just makes me sad. I understand more people are prone to fear than others. Like, that's just kind of how we're wired. But I don't think that we should be giving into fear. And if your reason for homeschooling is fear of fill in the blank, and that is your overarching reason, it's not really for any of the other reasons that I mentioned. Like, you don't really have that desire to homeschool. You don't really have that desire to, be with your kids and do the academics and do all of that, but it's simply just for fear. I don't know if homeschool is going to be the best fit for you. I personally don't think we should be doing anything out of fear. And again, I'm a Christian. I come through this through the lens of God and the Bible and prayer. And I don't think that we should walk around, with our eyes blinded and just living in la la land. I'm not saying that at all. I think we need to be vigilant and wise and prayerful about our decisions and make decisions that are based out of, wisdom and foresight, but not because we're afraid of XYZ. Next, now I want to tread lightly when I say this, because I don't want this to come across in the wrong way in any way, shape, or form. I don't want my words to be misconstrued. I do not believe that this is a one-size-fits-all approach. I don't think anything when it comes to homeschooling, regular school, all that is one-size-fits-all approach. But if your child has certain needs that you might not be able to fulfill or satisfy as a mom, as a homeschool mom, it may be a benefit and beneficial for your child to go to a school that can help meet those needs. There's no denying the fact that there are cases where schooling could be a better fit and a better option for your child. They say it takes a village. That saying and phrase is a phrase for a reason, because it does. And so you don't have to be expected to do it all. Sometimes mom just needs to be mom and teacher can be teacher, and we have to be okay with that. As homeschoolers, and especially in the homeschool community, there's a lot of black and white thinking, and I'm not about that. I never have been, and I never will be. And on my little platform here, I want to share that there is no one size fits all for every single family. And just because it works for your homeschool and your social circle of people that you know doesn't mean it works for every single person in our country and in the world, honestly. There's people who have careers, who have really, really great hearts, who have a passion for helping children, and there is nothing wrong with getting that help. And I don't think that any mom should just feel the pressure to just have to do it all by herself and feel like she's doing it alone. So if that is you out there, take that into consideration. I, again, am not saying you can't homeschool. I'm just saying if it's something that it becomes too much and there's a line, and it's crossed that line, consider maybe that schooling is okay. If you're here at the end of this video and everything I said, none of that really appeals to you, or maybe it's like, that kind of sounds cool, but yeah, I'm still a no. It's still a no for me, dog. I shouldn't say that, should I? Then maybe homeschool is not for you, and that's okay. If you've been considering it and things that I said really piqued your interest and kind of resonated with you, and you thought, yes, that actually clicks with me, then I say go for it. Give homeschooling a try. Pray about it. If you're a Christian, again, pray about it. Talk to people who are, obviously if they're against homeschooling, they're probably not going to be your best people to talk to. But talk to people with an open mind. If you don't know anybody like that, get online. Facebook has a lot of groups. You can say, hey, I'm considering homeschooling. What are, some more pros and cons? What is your experience? Just take your time. And again, I think there's nothing wrong with just going for it. You're not committed to it. You don't have to, do it for the next 20 years. You can do it for a year and see how it goes. So if you try it and it works and you love it, then awesome. You've found your new calling, and it's great, and it'll be wonderful. However, if you try it and it doesn't work out, then that's okay too. But again, you tried it. What I would not feel comfortable with, for myself at least, is going through having that, should I have homeschooled? Should we have at least tried it? Should we have, gone out on a limb, gone out of our comfort zone and tried it? And then having that what if playing of what else, what would I have missed? So you don't want to have any what ifs or regret. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you have any other reasons why you homeschool or why you are considering homeschool, any benefits, please put them down below in the comments so that others who are considering homeschool can read that as well, and just can have a bigger kind of list, so to speak, to play off of. If you thought this video was helpful, you don't even have to leave a comment. If you're not the type who likes to comment, just give it a thumbs up. That actually really, really helps too, and I would really appreciate that. If you've not subscribed, but you want to stick around for more homeschooling and lifestyle type of content, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. I, again, appreciate you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.